So you make progress, you're doing everything right, and then somehow you find yourself right back at the beginning. And that cycle, it can get exhausting. It's frustrating, and if we're being honest, it can make you start questioning yourself. But what if the problem isn't your discipline? What if it's something deeper that no one ever taught you how to understand? Today, we are getting into that. I am joined by Danielle, and she is a licensed therapist who specializes in helping women navigate the emotional and identity changes after bariatric surgery. And what makes her perspective different is that she has lived this journey too. She's not just talking about weight loss, she's talking about what happens after, when your body changes, when your patterns, your thoughts, and your identity may not have caught up yet. So if you've ever felt like you're doing the work, but still feel stuck in that same cycle, this episode is for you. So let's jump right in. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Bariatric Past, where we have real conversations about weight loss, the bariatric journey, and the mindset shifts that come with it. If you're new here, I'm Jatoya, and this space is for people navigating any weight loss journey in real life. Let's get into today's episode.
Why do you think so many people feel like they're constantly starting over in this weight loss journey?
Yes. A big part of it is the emotional underlying, which means that even after the surgery, myself included, things didn't automatically change overall in my life because there was emotional healing that needed to be done. And that actually led me up to getting the bariatric surgery and having some health issues related to, my weight, obesity, and just a wide range of other medical issues. So I think it's the getting the surgery and having expectations that it's going to automatically heal us both emotionally and physically.
And what does that cycle look like in real life?
Yes. So it can look like regain, which I know ladies, right? Like one of our biggest fears, myself
Yes.
sometimes included. It can look like
Yes.
regain and then beating yourself up, feeling like you failed, feeling like you got the surgery for no reason, feeling like people are going to judge you now that you gained some of the weight back, right? So really it's a wide range of self-sabotage. And so for a lot of us, it can be, and a lot of the ladies that I work with too, can be either through regain. It can also be sabotaging relationships because we're not doing the emotional work. So then it goes external, right? Self-sabotaging ourselves, emotionally, physically, and then it goes outwards, typically to our relationships, and kind of carries into a domino effect everywhere in our lives, careers, and just overall. So,
And we tend to be the heart of the home. So when we're not together, the whole house is in an uproar.
yes, I work with a lot of moms, and
Mm-hmm.
I started many, many years ago when I first started in the mental health field, working with single moms,
Mm-hmm.
doing more behavior modification work for their parenting, for their children. So moms go through a lot. Now, I'm not a mom myself, but I've been working with them for almost 15 years. And it's a lot of work when you're trying to heal yourself in many different ways. And then also, like you said, run the household in a lot of ways. A lot of people depending on you.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, I relate.
Yeah, mama three here. But so why does it feel like progress disappears so quickly? Because I mean, even for me, I am now about 2.5 years post-op. So most of my weight I've lost at this point. I'm just in that maintenance phase. And sometimes and this may sound weird, sometimes I forget how drastic of weight that I did lose just because I'm like, now this is my my new normal. So when people say, "Oh, how much did you lose?" I'm like, "Oh, 170 pounds." And they're just like, but I feel like, oh yeah, because I've been struggling because I'm upset about the last 5 pounds I gained.
Yes. Yes. We've all been there. And I always tell like the ladies that I work with too, celebrating small wins, meaning that
Mm.
even when you get to that 5 pounds, right, that goal weight, um, there's still work that is to be done. And I don't mean physically, I mean like self-compassion, celebrating your small wins, small victories. And that's not going to come externally from, buying that size down or, your partner telling you that, you're looking great. It has to come internally. So we have to do things intentionally to celebrate ourselves because it's not going to come like a huge victory when that scale comes, because then we don't really have anything to really celebrate ourselves after that. We hit like a plateau,
Mhm.
mental plateau, if that makes sense.
It just kind of gets monotonous at that point.
Yes.
And it sounds like I'm ungrateful a little bit of the journey because it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm not losing weight no more. So I don't get like the big, when I step on the scale, now it's back to just like dread because I know it's either saying that I gained a pound or I'm the same or I gained 20 pounds. Like, who knows what it says when I step on it?
Yes. For a lot of us, including myself, we have to remember that food was that center, and it was an addiction, right? So once we go through the procedure, it's almost like having to find new hobbies, new interests, because if not, right, like for myself, I felt at the height of my career, right? But I was almost 400 pounds. So clearly not taking care of myself in many ways, get the surgery. Now I'm really, really focused on that scale, like you said, right? Like once I get down to this, once I get down to this, but really I had to travel back, right? Like what was the focus before the surgery? Oh, it was extreme career goals. After the surgery, it was that weight goal, right? So I think also remembering the mental piece of obesity is that fixation and that addiction um, nature, right? So being
Yeah.
mindful of that and just creating new things like new coping skills, new hobbies is going to be key. Something else that we can focus on.
Because it's honestly like you're getting addicted to the high of losing weight.
That's right. That's right.
And then now it's like now that's gone. So you looking for something else, but really it's you need to address that addictive behavior.
Absolutely. That mindset, that cycle. So, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So what happens when a lot of women hit their goal, get close to their goal, some surpass their goal, but they still feel like they're stuck, like they're not done. Why is that?
Yes. Um, I always talk with women about like, what are your goals, right? Like our main goal in life isn't to be a certain size or a certain weight, right? So I talk with the ladies about like, what are some of your life goals, right? And a lot of times what I find is that they're like, well, I'm not sure, right? Like I spent all of this work getting to, this certain weight or a healthier state to be there for my kids or to be there, show up in different ways. But really that's about like other people, right? And so non-judgmentally, I point them in the direction of what is your goal, right? Like past, your size, past your weight, that's one element. I'm talking about how do you want to show up? Like, what are your goals? So I really like hold women accountable in that way, in a very gentle way of like, what is it that you want past, this surgery? Because it's not your whole identity. It can't be.
I think that's one thing about this journey that I have had to learn is what is my identity outside of wife, outside of mom, outside of coworkers, daughter. Just what does Toya want?
Mhm.
Why was this journey important for me and reflecting how I got here? Because like you said, I was almost 400 pounds as well. So it's just kind of like that doesn't happen overnight. So how did we get there?
Yes. Yes.
And was okay with it for so long. I feel like those are the kind of conversations that you really have to stop and have in order to make those transformational changes
Yes.
lifestyle wise.
Yes. And I always say, like, to women, it's not that you're failing, it's that you need support. And like for myself, I didn't start going to therapy until after the surgery when I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, what is wrong? Like, it can't be the weight, right? I'm in a much healthier state. Um, why is it that I'm feeling, and it was because I never replaced that behavior, which was the eating, right? Um, and so I became sad, like, what is life, right? Like now my stomach is this big, right? When I'm going out with my family and my friends, right? I can't eat what they eat for a long time, right? Um, and so I felt like, oh man, right? Like almost a sense of like, do I regret this? Um, but yeah, I think we all go through that. And I think it's really being compassionate with yourself too.
Why do you think we are so critical and quick to self blame ourselves in this journey? Because even now, I had the surgery, I mean, not early in life, but I have the surgery in my 30s, which I know like that's usually earlier than the trend. It's usually later on in life. But whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, we're women and
Yes.
we're also aging. Those are factors that are beyond our control. But I feel like we are quick to blame ourselves when if we do gain weight or if we start stalling or if it's just not working out or if the emotions like we always start looking at what we're doing wrong first.
Yes. Yes. I think a big piece of it, a lot, especially for a lot of the women I work with, is the expectations of outside people, right? Like we get a lot of, family, friends that may not with malice intent make comments, right, about whether, are you doing okay? Like, I noticed you gained weight, or, you worked too hard to gain that weight back,
Oh,
right?
I
You're getting
love
too
those
skinny,
comments.
right? You're getting too
Yes,
skinny. You're getting
love
so I
those.
think two things. I think one big is society's expectation, because I do think that a lot of people don't necessarily understand the bariatric world unless you've been through it yourself. Um,
Amen.
right? Including doctors, and they do great work.
Mm-hmm.
But in my journey of follow-up appointments and things of that sort, I haven't yet met a weight loss doctor that's actually had the procedure themselves. So it's very hard to explain different side effects and things of that sort, including the emotional aspect with someone that hasn't necessarily been through it. So I think society's expectations and misinformation, or ignorant, should I say. And then also, when we think about it, obesity, in a way, we were able, at least for myself and a lot of the women that I worked with, we were able to almost like have a guard with our weight. Like it kept us safe in a lot of ways. And
Mm-hmm.
that gets very layered. But I think
Mm-hmm.
there was, even though that was a shield for a lot of us, it also came with a lot of guilt, that usually, at least in my family or my friend group, I was typically the biggest one. And
Yeah.
so I think that my self esteem, even prior to the surgery, um, was, very empowered. I didn't feel like confident, right? Because again, I could kind of hide behind my weight in a lot of ways. Um, so I think it has a lot to do with society and our self-esteem, that was never developed, or poor
Mm.
self-esteem because of life experiences or traumas. So I think those two factors play a big role.
Yeah. And even now, after the surgery, like you said, it's something that we've never developed as a skill. So it is still kind of hard to have the self esteem with the different body. I feel like, if anything, I'm even more insecure after the weight loss because I don't have that protection or that shield or that crutch or excuse. So it's just like now, if you don't like me, it's just because you don't like me. I
Right.
just, oh, you just don't like big girls.
Yes. Yes. No, it's so true. And it sounds strange, right? Like for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, I said, after I lost, a lot of the weight and, even after the duodenal, I went, on the GLP-1s and things of that sort, got down to a really small size. I felt more confident at some points before the surgery.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with, our identity, right? We spend so many years, decades, right, in that body. Now I'm in this completely different body. I have a new identity. I don't really know where to go with it, if that makes sense. And not only do I have to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out, now everyone else knows that I had this surgery, right? Or this
Mm-hmm.
shift, and they're also looking for me to figure it out. So I feel like it's a lot of pressure for yourself and, other people's expectations.
And they when they see such a dramatic change outwardly, they're expecting this new person, and they're so quick to say, "Oh my gosh, how do you feel? Who are you now? Do you feel like a brand new person?" And you're just like, I think I'm still me.
Right.
Like,
You want to give a quick
I don't know. I
answer?
haven't really, like, I haven't really learned myself yet. Like, I'm still learning, but I feel like they wanted me to just be like, oh my gosh, it's life changing. I breathe different. I blink different. Like, I just feel like they're expecting this like dramatic change because of the weight loss. And it's like, it is not that deep, not in that way, but it's kind of hard to explain that to someone who's not going through that journey.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. And I think people, again, with good intentions, not malice, um, they just don't know what to say. Like they're in so much shock.
Yeah.
Like we say it out loud, like it's nothing, oh, 200 pounds. But for, someone that hasn't, been through severe obesity, right? It's strange for them in a sense, but I think that I also, if the therapist mind in me, right, the coach mind says to myself, they're asking these questions for a reason, and it took me a long time to think about that and process that, meaning
Hmm.
that just because someone else is of average size or thin, never struggle with obesity, they may struggle with their own self-esteem and their own identity. And so they see someone that, took a leap of courage and, got this surgery and lost, a massive amount of weight. And really they're asking questions for themselves too. That's how I, processed it after, years of like those same questions. So,
We're super women.
right? You have superpowers.
Before we jump back into the episode, I wanted to tell you something really special we've been building. Echoes of You Wellness Fest. And it is happening September 19th at the Kroc Center in Atlanta, Georgia. This isn't just another event. It is a space for real people navigating wellness, weight loss, healing, identity shifts, movement, confidence, all of it. And we're bringing together community, conversations, resources, and experiences designed to remind you that your journey matters and you don't have to figure this out alone. So if you're craving connection, support, inspiration, or honestly, just a room of people who get it, I want to see you there. You can get updates, ticket info, vendor opportunities, and more at www.bariatricpaths.com or www.echoesofyoufest.com. I hope to see everyone there. Now let's get back to the episode.
So, in getting ready for this interview, I noticed that you mentioned a lot about patterns and how we tend to get stuck. What are some common patterns you see after weight loss surgery with people you work with?
Yes. So a lot of times it is the old habits of eating and then the old habits of just day-to-day life, meaning people still have to live their lives after, bariatric surgery, meaning they're still going to work full time. Like you said, they're still, managing their house, being the parent, being the mom, taking care of everything. And there really hasn't been a set routine to work around that, if that makes sense. And then on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, when there's changes in that, being able to adapt to that. So really, coming up with a plan um, is so helpful. I tell people all the time, you're not going to be able to live your life. um, how you did before. There's going to need to be a shift in your schedule, a shift in your habits, a shift in your nutrition plan, a shift in your vitamins. Like, I don't know how many vitamins I take throughout the day, but it's a lot. Um, so it's really, an identity shift in the sense of like your whole schedule and your life is going to change in a positive way, but it's a lot of work.
And I think it's so true how you mentioned your patterns of just day to day, because that's different than right after surgery. That first 12 months, you guys, you are so behaved. You are
Right?
so good. Even if you cheat a little bit, you're still doing amazing. Like, but once you heal a little bit, you can take a little bit, and then just day to day, you have kids, you have to go to parties, and you have to go to events, and you have to live life. You can't just stay in your bubble with your little protein cup. So it's like that's when those patterns can creep right back in, when you would go and just like, oh, it's just a cookie. Oh, it's just one piece of cake. And then you go through the night and you're just like, whoa, I
Yes.
ate a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, 100%. Like I was sugar free for a really long time. Um, and then gradually, and you're right, like you can it's a tool. It's not, the end all be all. It's not the answer. It's not going to solve everything. So you do have to be mindful. I tell women all the time, like, work the tool into your life, meaning you're still going to go out with your family. You're still going to go out with your friends. If you have that cookie, don't beat yourself up. You know, when you're withholding yourself from things, right? That's when we want to go and have five cookies, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
that self-compassion piece is so important, but I think it all boils down to support. Um, because like you said, people still have to live their day-to-day lives years after the surgery. Um, and really you need people in your life that are supportive. And like I said, for myself, I started doing therapy and I found a lot of support and got a lot of compassion and a lot of, guidance. And I think that was like key for me, having that support, someone to challenge myself.
Yeah. And they say it's about balance. But it is, but it's a little bit deeper than that, because yes, it's about balance and give and take, but it's also understanding the consequences of those balances of give and take and being okay with that.
Mhm.
Because if you want to say like, okay, I am going to enjoy myself, it's okay. I had an extra cookie. Great. You also decided not to work out this week. Okay, it happens.
Yes.
Did the scale change? Possibly. But you have to be okay with, but you know what? I had a joyful time. I enjoyed myself. And have to be okay with that give and take that you do in order to enjoy life. Because I feel like that's also a big piece. You're not really understand, or maybe you're like just mindlessly saying, oh, balance, balance. But then when you get on the scale and you're just like, ooh, it's a little too much balance.
Yes. Yeah, like holding yourself accountable too, right? And
Yeah.
having people in your life that, can do that for you as well.
Mhm.
That conversation piece is important, how to, you know, teach other people how to support you in that way. That's why I said therapy is very important, right? A non-judgmental, outside viewpoint. But I do think two things with that, meaning that I do agree with you, right? So we're still going to be accountable for when we do, gain weight and when we are not following a certain nutrition plan, not taking our vitamins, things that we know are basically self-sabotage. At the same time, um, also thinking to yourself, like I love that flyer that I have for the workshops where it's like me at the 400 and me, a recent picture. Because there's so many in betweens that I went through, so many weights that I went through in between. And if I continued many years later, I think it's been 5 years at this point that I've had the surgery. If I continue to beat myself up every time I gained weight, what is that going to do for me? I'm just going to gain more weight. So I tell the ladies that I work with, absolutely find a way to hold yourself accountable through routines. However, if you beat yourself up, we're just going to continue to go down this route, or this routine of like self-sabotage, like behaviors and patterns, because like you said, it's going to keep going. I got one cookie. Now I feel bad about it. I'm going to have, five
I
more,
already had one, might as well have five.
right? That mindset that we have, right? That,
Hmm.
for a lot of us, it may never fully be like a person without obesity. And there's some acceptance that's needed in that, meaning that I think that way, right? Even to this day, sometimes I think that way, right? If I got one, I may not, but I think pre and post surgery, I'm a lot more self aware because I've done a lot of work. Does that make sense? And it sounds like,
Absolutely.
you get that part about it too.
What about the emotions piece? How can that drive behaviors even without people realizing it? Because I know when you think of emotions, you think of the extreme, but we're emotional 24/7, even if it's not dramatic.
Yes. Yes. Um, Day to day emotions. I work with a lot of ladies that, have day to day stress, but also ladies that have gone through some traumatic experiences. And that was able to be what I like to call stuffed for many, many years until the surgery. So I tell, ladies all the time that that needs to be addressed, right? The internal piece needs to be addressed. I do the coaching, right? I'm a therapist, in my day-to-day career, but I do coaching. So I encourage them to see a therapist, and I'm going to work on the guidance part with you, right? Holding you accountable, creating these routines, that sort of thing. But the mental health aspect, just because someone got a bariatric surgery, that doesn't take away, for example, mental health disorders, treatment, medications. Someone on a lot of the ladies that I work with are on medications. What do some of the antidepressants cause? Weight gain, right? So then we're
Yeah.
back at this cycle of like, oh my gosh, a give and trade. Do I want to continue to lose weight, or do I want to take care of my mental health? And we talk about, like you said earlier, that balance, um, because I don't think that we should have to choose between treating physically and mental health.
I feel like sometimes, specifically with women, depending on what it is, I feel like that's the case sometimes. It's not, it sucks.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's the
Because it's like you
reality.
want to be healthy, and then, but the medicine you take is going to cause other side effects that you have to deal with. And now you're like balancing the side effects, and it's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think when I got down really low, I started having a lot of back pain and, MRIs and things like that, bone structure changes with surgery, especially with a massive, 200 pounds. So I was put on different medications for my back pain, and I gained weight, right? But again, like you said, that balance, am I going to go through chronic pain every single day, or am I going to take it and heal and get a procedure and things of that sort? So, I get it. And I tell ladies, like, we're going to figure out what's right for you. Not for, husband, not for your family that doesn't want you to gain weight after you invested a lot of time and energy into the weight loss, but really what's that going to look like for you? Because we're going to go through different phases of our lives. And as we age, especially as women, there's going to be some natural weight gain. We're not going to stay at this goal weight. It's just not realistic. So we're going to have to navigate, the changes.
You said something very powerful. You said, lasting change doesn't come from controlling behavior, it comes from understanding it. Can you break that down for us?
Mm. Self-awareness. Yes. When I talk about self-awareness, especially with, the ladies that I work with, it's really understanding our thought patterns. If we don't understand how we talk to ourselves and how we show up, how are we expected to get to the next level to make change? So I always, like to rewind it back before we go into goal setting and things of that sort. I always like to talk about like our thought patterns, our cognitive distortions. How do we usually manage stress? What's our typical coping outside of food, right? Just because food and overeating was our go-to, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have other unhealthy coping skills, if that makes sense. So I like to kind of take a step back and understand, like, what is your self-awareness, and like, how do you self-reflect? Because we're not able to get to the next step until we really have an understanding, if that makes sense.
And even self-awareness, that's a journey, because once you're self-aware, then you're just like, oh, I am self-aware, we are in trouble.
Right. Yes. We start beating ourselves up a little bit more. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like, oh, we got a lot of work to do.
Yes. But you know what? I think it's so important. I know you probably met people before that you're like, oof, just a little bit of self-awareness would go a long way. So I think a lot of people are, fearful of that, right? And that's why so many people are hesitant to, do therapy or do coaching. It's because of, oof, am I opening up like a can of worms? Yeah, essentially, I'm very frank in my approach. Yeah, you are probably going to open up a can of worms. Is it going to be helpful in the long run? Yes. Is it going to be uncomfortable short term for a little while? Yes. So two things can be true at one time.
It's like, look, I'm not going to try to embarrass myself, but like medically, you know how they say that you have to scrape the dead tissue off so that underneath can live. I don't know. It's the metaphor.
I love that.
Google it.
I love that. Yes. Oh my gosh.
But like burn victims, when they're healing, you have to like scrape that dead skin off so the underneath the skin can actually grow and heal. So something like that. Google it. I might said that wrong. That might get.
No, I love that. Yes, like transform it, but we have to.
It's got
to go into different layers.
Yes, exactly. And so what can happen when people try to force this change or this transformation without going through the layers and doing the work?
Typically what I see is a lot of self-doubt, self-sabotage, and also lack of identity. Like prior to the surgery, like we talked about, they were probably a lot more confident. And a lot of the ladies that I work with that really struggle with that transition, and really doing that work initially, because it is uncomfortable, right? And so I tell people that it's uncomfortable. Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to it. And like we talked about, it all goes back to like that self-awareness and being vulnerable to really like get started on the work and finding the right support. I hear a lot of ladies before they come to me say like, well, I've tried it before. I've gone to, this therapist and this therapist, and, I haven't been able to make progress. Right. And so I tell them that doesn't mean that you failed at it. You need the right support. Right. And whether that looks like with me or, whoever that looks like for you, I want you to have that. So you have to, make sure that you're getting that right support.
Exactly. I think that's very, very important.
Okay, Bariatric Paths family, it's officially time. I am so excited to finally announce Echoes of You Wellness Festival, a brand new in-person wellness experience happening September 19th, 2026 at the Salvation Army Kroc Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And listen, this is not one of those perfect wellness events where everyone is acting like healing is easy. This is going to be for real people, real journeys, real struggles, and real growth. Whether you're post-op, pre-op, no-op, rebuilding your confidence, trying to find yourself again, or just learning how to take care of yourself for once, this space is for you. We're bringing together wellness, community, movement, vendors, conversations, resources, and people who truly understand what it feels like to fight for your health and your peace. Because healing isn't just physical. And honestly, a lot of us are craving connection with people who get it. We get it, right? So I wanted to create a space where we can walk in, feel comfortable, supported, inspired, and seen. And we have done that. So mark your calendars for September 19th, Echoes of You Wellness Fest. in Atlanta, Georgia at the Croc Center. For updates, tickets, vendors, sponsorship, head over to bariatricpass.com or echoesofyoufest.com. We're just getting started, and I cannot wait to experience this with you all. I hope to see everyone there. This episode may end here, but the journey doesn't. Parallel Paths is the Bariatric Paths membership for people who want continued support, real conversations, and connection beyond the podcast. If that sounds like what you need right now, go to www.bariatricpaths.com and see if the community feels like the next right step for you. Remember, your journey is yours, but you are not alone. Go out there and crush it. Bye. This podcast is for support and inspiration only. It is not medical advice. Always talk to your doctor or care team about what's right for you.